Greetings and welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. My name is Mark, and with us, as always, is the one and only Mr. Frankie D.
That's Frank to the triple D, also known to all, well, actually just Mark, as the Natural.
That's correct. I do call him the Natural. We're so happy you could join us. If your friends are wondering why you're suddenly having such good taste in music, be sure to tell them that they can find out on Check Out This Record, and that it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you find the finest podcasts. Heck, we're even on the jolly old YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that's right. New episodes drip to the drop directly to your ears every Friday. And of course, they're for your listening pleasure.
That's right. For the uninitiated here on Check Out This Record, Frank and I find new albums for each other and go through them track by track. But that's not all. Oh, no. We have a wide variety of musical discussions, like in our Spotlight series, where we'll dig into a band's catalog and see what comes out the other side.
That's right. Or in our Versus series, we pit two albums against each other. We have to do that soon. And they duke it out, Mark, for total stereo domination.
All right. I mean, Frank's feeling a little under the weather, so don't mind that total stereo domination out of him, folks. Now, if social media is your thing, and let's be honest, we all know it is, be sure to check us out on Instagram, or we even have a Facebook group where we like to drop additional content, because if it doesn't happen on Facebook, it didn't really happen.
That's what they say, man. And you know, if you also pop over to another place where if things don't happen and they've never happened on YouTube, you can watch us make these silly faces as we try to put this show together. And who knows, maybe there's some exclusive content coming, probably some reviews that are going to make you guys really, really agitated down the line, which is exciting. So you don't want to miss this. And be sure to click that old subscribe button.
That's right. Now, last week, I told you we were going to head to the Mojave and check out one of the pioneers of stoner rock, Fu Manchu. Now, I think we need to address the elephant in the room here. The band is not named after a mustache.
No. And listen, Mark, in my small mind, very small, this is initially what I was thinking, that it was after the mustache.
Yeah, I had a feeling. So, nope, it is not. The band and the mustache, however, are both named for a fictional character who first appears in the 1913 book, The Mysteries of Dr. Fu Manchu. He quickly became the archetype of the evil criminal genius and or mad scientist, while lending his name to the mustache, even though he didn't actually wear one.
And the Oxford Dictionary, Mark, defines Fu Manchu as a long, narrow mustache whose ends taper and droop down to our chin. Sometimes we have two chins.
That's right. Are you going to grow one?
It's actually on my face right now. You just can't see it.
Oh, very nice. So, unfortunately, the character morphs into kind of the negative stereotypes towards Chinese people, as writers found themselves working him into more books, movies, and eventually even comic books. Fortunately, however, the dudes in the band Fu Manchu seemed to think he had a cool name and liked the sinister suggestion the name gave them, and claimed it for themselves. Remember, the two main themes of stoner rock have classically been sci-fi and muscle cars. So it really plays nicely as a name for a band, especially in this particular genre. However, as someone who really only recently got into the band, it just feels like a cool, silly name that a bunch of stoners would have picked for an otherwise kind of silly rock band that can seriously rock. Frank, these guys are from Southern California. It's 1985. Can you guess what kind of band they had originally modeled themselves after?
Bon Jovi?
Absolutely not. If you said hardcore, you were correct, but you were not. Specifically Black Flag, Frank. They were trying to be a Black Flag type hardcore band.
Okay.
After some lineup changes, the band changed their name officially to Fu Manchu in 1990. and would release their first album under that name in '94 called No One Rides for Free.
True.
It is very true. And that's how this beast essentially was born. There have been a ton of lineup changes over the years. Please go on like Wikipedia and just look at the number of people.
I saw that.
It's a lot of dudes. And hey, look, it happens, right? That hasn't slowed their output. They currently have 12 studio albums, a ton of EPs and singles, a best of, a live album. They've got a ton of work for you to get into. But we're going to focus on their fifth album, which, you know, because things are complicated, was actually 2 previous 10 inches that they had released, plus songs that have subsequently been added to the final product of those 2 10 inches. That, of course, being Godzilla, Eatin Dust +4, where the +4 comes from. I'll be sure to break down the who's and the who's what's as we get to them to make it easy, you know, on you, Frank, and the listener. So that said, you ready to fire this bad boy up?
Mark, you know, I'm a pyro and I want to burn it up. And there it is right there, folks. The vinyl. Yeah,
look, I got this thing. It's totally badass.
Oh, yeah.
I highly recommend if you can find it, go ahead, get your hands on it. It's totes bad.
Yep.
So the first 4 tracks are from the 1999 10-inch entitled Eatin Dust, despite being recorded and released 2 years after Godzilla. So Godzilla came out in '97. They've released this bad boy a few times, so it probably just a choice of listening flows in terms of how the songs ended up in what order. But I like that they kept the EPs essentially together and then tacked on the 4 extra songs, which were from the Godzilla recording sessions at the end. The lineup for Eatin Dust, which is basically the lineup as it exists now, is Scott Hill on vocals and guitar, Brent Bjork on drums, Bob Block on lead guitar, and Brad Davis on bass. So track 1, Eatin Dust. I love that they're like super easy with their names. The song is your classic stoner jam about super fast, about going super fast and rocking out. And it really sets the tone here with its nonsensical lyrics, fuzzy guitars, driving bass, and over the top drums. This thing sounds like a big bad engine just revved up all the way. Frank, what'd you think of the opener?
You know, one thing stoner rock is always able to do well is give you the ability like to where you're floating in air while having like this rocking soundtrack accompanying your flight to wherever you want to go. The song to me is all about the vibe, music, riffs, vocals, and lyrics they're secondary here. They're part of the secondary tier because all the others match up really, really well. So solid opener for me. And in my opinion, that's largely to do with that riff because that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Mean, this whole record, both of the EPs and all the stuff,
so riffy.
This band is just super riff heavy, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Track 2, Shift Kicker, a tribute to a badass car and going way too fast for responsible purposes. We get to see the band show off their technical skills with some killer breakdowns and licks alike. Are you holding on to your seat in a good way, Frank, or a bad way?
Well, Mark, recent bowel movements will make it in a bad way. My internal toxins aside, I'm holding on to my seat in a good way. So I like the speed of the song, and from the limited stoner rock I've heard, you know, most of it is pretty even. So this kicked me right in my shift for sure.
Very nice. Track 3, Orbiter. The band kind of downshifts the tempo here, giving us this killer drum and vocal intro. Then one of those amazing heavy riffs, a fuzzy as hell solo, and some funky off-time percussion here to mix things up. We're treated to lyrics about a muscle car they're waiting to see and race along the desert road, but it's unclear if it's real or fiction or means anything at all. Definitely a cool jam in my book. Frank, you dig in this, we'll call it slower number.
Yeah, I am. And context is king, not only in everything, but in music. And if you take this for what it is, it's super cool. It's nice for once just to have like a good time with music, right? And just be able to bob the head. And I believe at least that's what I was feeling many times when I was just listening to this. So it was really welcoming.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's something about this that just feels good.
Yeah.
It's not serious at all. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later.
Track 4, Mongoose. Frank,
Ooh.
you might recognize this song from a 2008 Toyota Sequoia commercial. It appears in its 6-minute form. They would re-release it re-record a slightly shorter version for their 2001 release, California Crossing. I'm pretty sure the guys are singing about like the badass bikes made by a company called Mongoose. Mongoose makes a killer bike. So I just assume it's about dudes hanging out watching other people ride bikes.
Yeah.
And the thrill of riding, BMX and all kinds of different fun you can have, on a bike. You ever ride a Mongoose?
Yeah, I have not. And I actually don't remember this on the Toyota commercial. However, I could totally see it and I could totally hear it. They mesh very well together. This could be the first track on the album this far where I may have wanted some change up on the vocal delivery, as there could be a little bit of a repetitive nature. Again, there's two facets, and that's the secondary facet, with the first facet being the loud fuzzy guitars, the whole vibe and stuff like that. This was just the first song where I may have noticed that and said that to myself.
Fair enough. Well, track 5 is Pigeon Toe. This track was part of the Eatin Dust recording session, but wasn't actually on the original 10-inch release, only being added to the album in 1999 for their CD release. I love how the song opens with this big fuzzy chord and the drums come just bashing in and the band fills in behind them in this chaotic intro. That feels a lot like a cloud of dust on a desert highway, as you might imagine, building as a muscle car is just tearing ass right at you, just to miss you as it speeds by, leaving you in that giant cloud of dust. Is that just me, Frankie, or are you feeling the same thing, man?
Yeah, I definitely feel this song, and I can see the correlation here with the hardcore roots for certain. Like, this was the first time where I kind of saw it all meshed together. I like a song like this. It's completely, I think, in union with the desert. Like, it feels like a true desert rock song, and that it is a thing because it makes total sense. I could totally picture it. You could totally feel it. This song encompasses all of that. So yeah, I totally we're digging it here.
Excellent. So we're going to move kind of quickly. This is a short record for being 12 songs. All right, so we're on to the Godzilla 10-inch portion of the record, recorded back in 97, as I mentioned. There is a slight lineup change here, with lead guitar being played by Josh Home. I don't know how you're supposed to say that guy's name, of Caius. I also don't know how to say the name of his other band. And of course, what we all know him for is Queens of the Stone Age.
Yep.
However, he recorded this under the assumed name Mike Coopersmith.
Oh.
I don't know. I Googled it. Nothing came up under Mike Coopersmith that made it more or less interesting. Anyways, track 6, Modular Overload. The band keeps us in a lower gear on this track with a steady pace number about getting lost behind the wheel. Metaphorically, we would assume. At this point, it's all the fuzzy heaviness you'd expect from the band. Frank, you feeling the impact of John here? Josh, whatever this guy's name is, I don't know. Mike Coopersmith here, or does he blend into the Fu Manchu sound without distracting from the rest of the band?
The impact is there for sure. And, I watched a video some time ago where Josh is explaining that when he was taking guitar lessons in the desert, ironically, he learned little tricks on guitar, like taking away a singular note on a chord or skipping a note on a scale and moving it around. And he felt that could be his thing that he would be known for, so you could recognize it on the guitar. With that said, I hear it all the way. I totally, the guitar work is totally distinguishable based on what I previously said. This is also a song where the chorus really stands out too. So I love how everything came together in this song.
Very cool. Track 7, living legend. We're
That's
getting a
me.
little bit. That's also another name I call Frank. We're getting a little bit of the sci-fi aspect out of the band here, with a mythical racer from the middle of the world's legend being spotted on a high road, but as legends do, it's in slow motion for the non-believer. I don't know. Like I said, these lyrics aren't supposed to mean anything.
Right.
Frank, you digging this little bit of mythos the band is playing with here?
I'm always down for anything sci-fi and anything that adds a little mythology to it. Only gripe is that the recording it feels a little reserved. I felt like sonically they could have let go a little bit more. I'm not talking about in a polished way. I'm just talking about in a more maybe aggressive way. But I mean, I'm digging everything else. I just maybe felt that the recording could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, they went to 9. They could have gone to 10.
Bingo, bango.
There we go. All right, track 8, Godzilla. It's the Blue Oyster Cult classic. Fu slows it way down and fuzzes it way the hell up. We get some pretty cool soloing from Josh here that mimics how Blue Oyster Cult did it, but with a little extra fuzz on it. Frank, you digging the OG or this version of the Godzilla best?
Blue Oyster Cult's another is another band that I'd like to explore more with you, in particular, Mark.
Okay.
However, I think this is a very good cover, and I happen to like both versions. I was listening to them both back to back and putting one first before the other, and then the next time listening to it, doing the same. And I think they were both very pleasant to listen to. So they're both, both done well.
Very nice, very nice. Track 9, Grendel Snowman. No idea what that means. We're now into the +4 section of the record. These were additional recordings from the Godzilla recording sessions that didn't make it to the 10-inch, but were added it to the 2019 release that is now available to you either
through Mark
or at my house. I have no idea what this song is supposed to be about, like at all, because it just makes no sense. But they keep it in that second gear tempo. We're keeping it nice and low. They like to keep moving without any major tempo shifts here. I would have liked to seen a little bit more out of them. This track felt a little lackluster to me in that it just seemed a little one-dimensional. Brad Bjork's drumming here is really on point, however. He's keeping the rhythms pumping and dropping in some killer fills as necessary. Frank, are you a Grendel Snowman?
Yeah, if you're referring to a monstrous man-eating descendant of Cain slain by Beowulf, the Snowman version, then absolutely, Mark, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Listen, the drumming here is the high point, and I won't give this guy shit for having the last name Bjork at all. He really does a great job. This song also sounds very 1999, Mark, and you know how I love to chat about that year in music to no end. But we went to a lot of festivals that year, and I totally could have heard this band on Ozfest. So
I wonder if we did, and we just don't remember. We got to look it up.
Yeah, totally.
Track 10, Strolling Astronomer. We're picking the tempo up here a bit, and we get some fun guitar noodling under the super heavy fuzz of Scott Hill's guitar. I love this extended drum as a bridge into the jamming outro. Nothing fancy here, just good old-fashioned stoner rock and roll. Your thoughts, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, I actually wanted to be an astronomer. Then I realized I sucked at almost anything and most things at a high academic level, Mark, including math. Back to the song, because it's not about that.
Right.
Nothing fancy Nancy here, just loud, fast, fuzz rock and roll, as you mentioned. Again, put it on the back and enjoy it. Yeah,
it's a good time. Track 11, Urethane. Took me like 3 days to make sure I was pronouncing it right.
Methane, urethane.
I could be 1,000% wrong, but I think this tune's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but as drag race team and the secret route to and from Earth. I don't know. It's probably isn't about anything more than having fun adventures driving your car fast down a desert highway. But I like reading too deep into things because that's how I'm ruining my life. What'd you think, buddy?
I could totally see what you're saying. Again, nothing great here, but it's a fun listen.
Track 12, this is the real reason I wanted to add the extra 4 tracks here. It's Jailbreak.
It is.
Written, of course, by Frank's hero and mine of this program, Phil Lynette. Like the Godzilla cover, excuse me. They're dosing this in the Fu Manchu signature levels of fuzz, but they aren't really slowing it down the way they did with Godzilla. A great tribute to the Mighty Thin Lizzy, as far as I'm concerned. Frank, I'll ask you the same question as before. Which version do you prefer?
I mean, I'm going with the OG for sure, and that's because Thin Lizzy was just so damn good that it's hard to top their songs, even if the covers are good, which this one is. I did enjoy, though, this edition. And Mark, you're right, especially as the closer. I see what you're going for here by having this on there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's just a nice tasty way to end the album. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of the line for this massive stoner rock album. That's really just a couple of smaller records, Godzilla style smashed together. Why don't you give us your final thoughts, Almighty Frankzilla?
Yeah, so presented as a work of fun desert stoner fuzzy rock, if that's how it's presented, which you did present that to me, then I'm in. Presented as a work that would change one's life, more than likely, then you're out. But again, there's context. That's why context is king, and that's how I went into this record. I did thoroughly enjoy the muscle car rock feel to it, loud, fuzzy guitars. I mean, we're talking about the guitars constantly, but I mean, they're just done so well that you have no choice but to talk about them. The riffs, nice job of elevating these songs. Vocals and lyrics are, listen, they're probably if I had to pick a lame duck here, that is what it is for me, but it's not what this is supposed to be about, right? It's the music that you could vibe to. And as mentioned, Holmes edition is a new edition that adds his unique elements to the songs. So I did enjoy this record, and I would give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Right up. So let me start by saying I don't think this is Fu Manchu's best album. That said, I think this is probably the easiest entry point to get people listening and interested in the band. The covers play a good deal of that, right? It's easier to get into music when you're already familiar with it. But I also think it gives a great spread of what Fu Manchu is about. With Eatin Dust, we get more of the classic stoner rock, muscle car, rock and roll vibe the band's earlier catalog was really kind of known for. And with the Godzilla side, despite being recorded before the Eatin Dust side, we're treated to more of the sci-fi element that would come out in the later part of their catalog. I think it just needed some time to develop, and that's probably why they stay a little bit more in the car lane.
Makes sense.
So much.
Makes
Plus,
sense.
Using a guy like Josh Homme here, it is cool, but the recording with him didn't feel as cohesive as they do with Bob Bach, who would be the key part of the band's sound over the entire catalog. All that said, I love this record. I think it's a ton of fun. It's how I got into the band, and so it's got a bit of sentimentality to me. I'm giving this guy a 7.5 out of 10 just for fuzz alone.
Nice.
Check out this record.
Well, you heard it here, folks. We don't play around. No games here.
No games here.
No games here, folks.
Oh man. Well, it's too bad because Frank, I have a game for you.
Oh man, I hope I like you after this one. That's all I gotta say.
We'll find out. It might not be me you don't like. It might be you don't like.
Oh well, that's probably this is called deflection, my friend.
That's true. So as I mentioned, part of why I picked Godzilla Eatin Dust is because of the covers that make the album a little easier to digest if you're not familiar with the style and sound.
Okay.
So I thought we'd play a game about covers. I'll give you the name of the song and the artist that covered it. Frank, you'll need to tell me who the original artist was. Bonus points if you can name the album that the original is from. So if I say Ryan Adams' Wonderwall, you would say...
I would say Oasis, definitely, maybe.
Oh, that wasn't on...
no, what's the Story Morning Glory? What's Story Morning Glory?
So you only would have gotten 1 point for that.
Jesus.
All right. All right, I'm going to start you easy. They'll get significantly harder
Yeah, that's what
as we go.
That's what I'm dreading.
Johnny Cash.
Uh-huh.
Hurt.
Oh, well, okay. This is 9 Inch Nails, downward spiral.
That is correct. All right.
Yep.
Question 2. Thin Lizzy. Rosalie.
Bob Seger band.
Uh-huh.
Or Bob Seger and his Silver Bullet band.
Yeah, I'll just accept Bob Seger. This isn't Jeopardy.
Okay. The album, I'm gonna just say Night Moves because that's the only one I could think of, but that's not it.
It's from his 1973 release called Back in 72.
Yeah, so like 10 years prior to Night Moves, probably.
All right. Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower.
Well, yeah, so that's obviously Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dylan, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from John Wesley Harding.
Correct. All right, so you're doing good here.
Okay. All right.
The Clash.
Okay.
I Fought the Law.
So that's from the guy who played with obviously Buddy Holly, and that's Bobby Fuller. And the album though, I mean those albums back in the day, hold on. Just Bobby Fuller, self-titled. Does he have a self-titled album? The Bobby Fuller 4.
I believe Bobby Fuller was in the Crickets, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So it was originally released as a Crickets song. But you were right though. It was written by Bobby Fuller for their album, the first album released after Buddy Holly's death, in the style of the Crickets, or in style with the Crickets.
So like I get like half points for that.
I'm gonna give you a point for that because you got the songwriter right. You just didn't name the band right. Close.
So it was the Crickets, but Bobby Fuller was singing, and this is obviously post Buddy Holly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Hey, look, we learned something. This one's a tough. This is where things really escalate, Frank.
Thanks,
Question
Mark.
5.
Yeah.
Me first in the gimmies.
Okay.
Who put the bump?
Who put the bump in the bump? Shawamp. That's one of those. Obviously, it's one of those 50s groups.
You would think so.
No, it's the guy who did. Hold on. He did other songs. Obviously,
Sure.
He did other songs.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, maybe he wrote one song. How do you know?
He only did one song.
I don't know.
You should know, pal. No. Hold on. He did. Played piano. That's all I know. I know his name's Barry something, not Manilow. All I know is his name's Barry.
Take off the low.
Barry Mann.
Barry Mann.
Oh.
And believe it or not, the album was called "Who Put the Bump."
So that's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Title track. All right.
All right.
This one's gonna be tough for you.
I'm sure.
The Talking Heads.
Mm-hmm.
Take Me to the River.
Talking Heads, take me to the river.
That is not how that song goes.
Really?
Take me to the river.
Take me to the river. I didn't think you liked the Talking Heads, by the way. Are you kind of growing on them a little bit?
Well, I got to be honest. When I saw that this was a cover, I went, "Oh, that explains why that's my favorite song."
So I see what you're saying.
I mean, I said they could. You know what? They're one of those bands that I don't like because I don't like people who like them.
Yeah, I got it. It's one of those. Just I know.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah.
That's an old tune though. No, old as far as.
I mean, they covered it in the '80s, so.
Is that like an Al Green song or something?
Oh,
it is.
It is in fact an Al Green song.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get what record that's from, but.
It's from Al Green Explores Your Mind.
See, those album titles back then, there's no way I'm going to remember those.
The Specials. A Message to You, Rudy. And I'll tell you, the original was actually called Rudy, A Message to You.
So they, wait, just so we could totally get this here.
Mm-hmm.
Specials had a song called Rudy.
No, the Specials had a song called A Message to You, Rudy. Mm-hmm. The original song, which this is a cover of, the Specials covered, is called Rudy, A Message to You. So they just changed where Rudy was in the title.
Oh.
As well as adding their specials twist to it.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
That didn't help at all, did it?
No, it didn't. I mean, I knew that song. I knew that song was a cover. I don't know the original artist's name. I mean, it's gonna be from one of the old, like, kind of calypso reggae singers who I probably don't know. So
it was a dance hall singer named Dandy Livingston. Dandy Livingston. And it was actually, he had only originally released it as a single.
Oh, so it was
but
never an album track, huh?
It was so popular that there was actually a bidding war, and the record company that the specials were on at the time won the bidding war for them to be able to cover it and release it.
I have to imagine this is pre reggae, right? Where things were like, not like, they were like rock steady, kind of that genre.
Yeah, it was a little bit more dance hall. It was a little more reggae. So it was, probably early 70s.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, maybe late 60s in that area. I definitely recommend looking at it. It's a really cool number. He apparently did the recording when he had a cold and wanted to go back and re-record it, and they were like, no, it's really dope. So they just added a trombone part.
I love those old recordings sometimes. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Number 8, this one's you're either gonna totally know this or you won't. Husker Du.
Yeah.
8 Miles High.
8 Miles High by Husker Du from their album. It's not New Day Rising. I'm trying to place with their album first.
Any luck? You got it?
Nope.
You got nothing? The Birds, that's with a Y, the Birds with a Y, their album Fifth Dimension. Really cool song. I like both versions of that.
Not to be confused with the Fifth Dimension.
Correct. Not to be confused with the band The Fifth Dimension.
Okay.
All right. Number 9.
Elvis
Costello and the Attractions. Good Year for Roses.
Good Year for Roses. That is from All This. I know that's from All This Senseless Beauty, isn't it? If I hold on, I'm gonna get this because
it doesn't have that I'm singing like different songs to you, does it?
No, actually, I kind of like that you're doing that. Yo, this is an old country song.
It is an old country song.
It's not George Jones. That's the first place I want to go to, but
really,
that's going to be my guess.
You sure it's a very good guess. It's George Jones.
It is George Jones. I didn't think he.
Do you want to know? You want to guess the name of his album?
The George Jones album?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no! It's George Jones with Love.
Oh, so it is George Jones.
Yeah.
I was gonna say either him or Alan. I know Alan Jackson, the country guy. He recorded it later, but okay, good to know.
Yeah. All right, this next one I promise you is super hard.
Oh boy.
The Suicide Machines. I Never Promised You a Rose Garden.
I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden. That was from the Suicide Machine self-titled record,
correct. That is where it appeared.
And this song, I know this song because this song was actually in the SLC Punk soundtrack. But it was by the Suicide Machine. So
correct.
That's not the name of the game here.
That is not how we're playing this game.
Ooh, I don't know who.
So this there's actually a number of people who have done this. It's all been country bands up until the Suicide Machines. Originally done by Billy Joe Royal from his album Billy Joe Royal, featuring Hush, Hush. Hush, hush. Yeah, so this was like a B-side on that album, dude. Like,
okay, all right.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty crazy, actually. But I do remember it on the SLC Punk soundtrack.
You got 10.
Yeah, did I really?
You got 10 points out of a possible 20.
Hey, man, if if I am to summarize my academic career in one word, which is mediocre, that represents it quite well.
There we go. Frank, what do you have in store for us next week?
Well, Mark, I hope you don't hate me, but I want to continue this lighthearted path because I think it kind of gives us a break from our usual therapy gut wrenching sessions. And believe me, I'm sure we'll get into some of those. Plus, this album is actually having its 30th anniversary this year.
Most excellent.
Now, it's a debut, and I will say there's flaws on it. This is not a record where I'm like, Mark, you're gonna love this. I'm presenting it to you saying, Mark, you got to listen to this. And I'm curious as to your thoughts. It's in the midst of the nerd college rock, and there's a very immature nature of it. I think there's some good sensibility here in the songwriting. And if you take it for what it's worth and, have a break with it, it might bring a smile to your face and you may like it. So that album that I just referred to is called Gordon, and it's by the Bare Naked Ladies.
Awesome. I'm into it. Let's do it. I have a list of bands with milestone anniversaries.
Nice.
And I did my best to sneak it out, and I was like, he's not describing any of the bands that are 30.
So Gordon, and I think you might find some songs that you might like. Some you're gonna just find straight up silly, but I think they're supposed to be silly. There's a song.
I mean, that's what I'm expecting already.
There's a song entitled Brian Wilson in there, which is pretty fun. There's even one called Be My Yoko Ono. So they get the Beach Boys and the Beatles out, bing, bang, boom, right there. It's lighthearted. And if you take it for just being silly, you might like it. Then again, you might hate it, but that's okay too, because it's, again, lighthearted.
Very nice. I can't wait. Let's doozy it.
All right, pal. So listen, thank you everyone for joining. Remember, like, subscribe, rate, review, suggest. More importantly, be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it when you make it to the end of the program with us.
Oh, do we?
Be sure to tell us what you think of the show, because Frank's going to write you a nasty email if he doesn't like it. And don't be afraid to drop those requests wherever you find us. Now, if you'd be so kind as to yell this out wherever you are at the absolute top of your lungs. Are you ready, friends? Oh, my. Oh, hell yes. Oh, bye-bye.